Hello world, hello YouTube, hello everybody. This is Prepper Princess and this is going to be a video about my get home bag. This is a bag that I usually keep in my car and I'm doing my quarterly checkup on it just to make sure that nothing in it is expired or anything. So I thought I would take this opportunity to share it with you guys. I haven't been in my bag for about 3 or 4 months, so at this point anything that's in it is going to be a surprise to me just as much as it is to you. So let's get going. Okay, so this is my bed. Here's my bag. So I do have a gray man mentality. So I work about 26 miles from home, and this is just to get me home. It's pretty much like an overnight bag in an emergency situation. I don't imagine that 25 miles would take me more than 1 day. So let's take a look here. Okay, so I have already offhand a survival blanket. There's some rope in there. I'm not going to take that out because who knows if it'll get all tangled or not. Alright, in here I've got, looks like a couple of MREs. What do I have? I've got gravy with seasoned beef brisket. Ooh, garlic and herb chicken breast fillet. Sounds delicious. And then we'll go through this zipper. Nothing in there. Get into the big stuff. Oh, okay. So, alright, looks like I've got a kit in there. And then I've got some grilled sausage gumbo. Oh, I like this stuff. And this is not going to expire for another 1.5 years. And then, oh, I've got some cooking fuel. Okay, so looks like in here I've got sanitation, so I've got toilet paper and Germ-X. I know that in this cup there's matches and a lighter, and then gloves. So here's something really important that a lot of people don't think about. So once you do get a fire started and you're cooking your food, whether you just cook it and just plop this right on a rock in the middle of the fire, or you use this, which this is mostly just for measuring purposes because it's exactly 1 cup. But a lot of people don't think about this. So once it's been on the fire and it's super, super hot, how are you going to pick it up? It's going to burn your fingers. So always carry gloves with you. Doesn't really matter the kind. I find that leather or plastic or garden gloves doesn't really matter as long as you can pick up the handle to the cup. And then here I've got a utility tool, or utensils I should say. It's a fork, spoon, and a knife. So I would heat up the soup and eat it from there and, you know, eat like that. And then I've got a flashlight, oh, a little first aid kit, and then I've got some tampons in here and a toilet paper. If I'm quote-unquote out of order, which I like to call it, I could use those, or I can also use them as a fire starter. If I don't want to have a full-on campfire, you know, not to attract attention, I could use this, and I could also use the emergency survival blanket. I could cut it up and use it as like a shelter. So then, is that everything in that one? Okay, so yeah, that's everything. So going on to the biggest one, and I've also got 2 paracord bracelets, courtesy of Purity White Cloud. Okay, so into the big one. Okay, looks like I must have been hungry last time I packed this thing. So I've got chicken breast with rib meat and mashed potatoes, which is how many servings? It is 2 servings. Okay, and then I've got biscuits and gravy. I do like those. And that is 2 servings. So that's 4 servings right there. So that's a 1.5 days. And then that's another probably 2 servings. So that's 2.5 days. And then I've got these, which is another 2 days. So that's like 6 days in there. And then I've got a pretty good sized bottle of water, more water, another water, a full canteen, and this is a metal canteen, so I could boil the water in there if I had to, and a sweater. This is a really heavy sweater, and that's everything that I've got. So I've got all of this packed in there. So I've got the sweater, food, survival blanket, aka tent, which I could use to put up with the paracord, and then cooking fuel, food, and then I've got a lot of water. I'm going to need a lot of water to get home. You know what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to add a life straw. On my way home from work, there is a lot of water. So I want to make sure that I add in one of my life straws. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there right now. I'm glad that I went through this with you guys, because we as preppers are continually updating and improving our methods. In my car, I have a sleeping bag and a tent. It's just a one-person backpack tent. And I would imagine, I also have other backpacks, but my main hiking bag is this one right here, which I think I might turn this into an actual bug-out bag, but it's super heavy duty. The shoulder thingies are super comfortable on my shoulders. And it seems like even if I've got 30 pounds in there, it feels like I'm only carrying about 5 pounds. So this is like my favorite backpack ever. I might turn that into a bug out bag, but I use it so often while hiking, I'm hesitant to do that unless I can find a bag just like it. So, oh, and I also have these counting beads, which I had to watch a video, but it's what they use in the military to, you know, pretty much tell you where you are. Again, that's courtesy of Purity White Cloud. Thank you. And I do have something for you, Purity White Cloud, coming soon. It includes these, so you can sell them in your magic bus. They're little folded flags. Anywho, so that's what I've got in my get home bag. Again, that's not a bug out bag. I don't plan on, you know, living in the wild. That's just to get me from work to home. So, I guess that is it for Prepper Princess on today's video. So, yeah, we've got hygiene, toilet paper. It looks like I am good to go. I should probably put an extra pair of socks and undies in there too. I'll do that later. You guys don't need to see my undies. So I guess that's it. Live or do what you can with what you've got. Prepper Princess out.
Hey guys, today this video is going to be, I get a lot of comments. I mean, not comments, I get messages. And it's strange, I get messages, but they're not put in the comments. They're just direct emailed to me about, oh, you need to buy this top of the line product and spend this amount of money, man, and it will, like one, I got a some flashlight. It's like an $80 flashlight, because somebody saw my post, my video, that a Dollar Tree flashlight, and they said, oh, you need to get this. I can't even remember the name of the brand, but it's like 80 bucks. Why in the hell would I want to go spend $80 on a flashlight where I could drop it, it breaks, I could lose it, it could get wet, you know, number of things could happen to it. If that Dollar Tree flashlight, I happen to lose it or break, no big deal. I just go in our supplies and get another one. But this video today, it's, I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, but it's where you can be self-reliant. Build it yourself and save your money. You know, I've done a video, be self-sufficient, or however the hell you say that word, and self-reliant. But this is, I guess, is a follow-up, you want to call it. But anyway, say a economic collapse happened. Say SHTF happened. And there's no power. You can't use your credit cards. You can't use, you know, money. Money nobody wants. It's either you make it yourself or you barter and trade. Okay, everybody's seen my smokehouse. You see my wood burning grill. This right here, I'm building, and that's going to, I'm going to run a pipe right here. It's going to come over here. I'm going to run it into here. On top of here is going to be a piece of metal. And I'm going to put a piece of metal right here. And this right here, bring this over here. It's going to be here somewhere, most likely. And I'm going to have a portable, a little redneck, whatever you, caveman, whatever you want to call it, stove that I can actually, my wife could, you know, do biscuits, make pizza dough, whatever. And on top of it, my hot smokehouse, I can turn it into a cold smokehouse for preserving. So I've got a hot smokehouse, then I'm going to have a cold smokehouse, then I'm going to have an oven. And what did it cost me? Absolutely nothing. Just my time and my common sense to figure something else out. Okay. No money whatsoever. Here, everybody knows what this is. It's one of those backpack weed sprayers. Found it. What I'm going to do with this, I'm going to take all this junk off of here. I'm going to leave the frame, leave the straps. I'm going to take all this off. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to cut it from, I'm going to come around here. I'm going to cut it big enough where I can put my 110s and 220 traps in it. I have a trapping backpack that I don't have to carry a 5-gallon bucket with me. Free. If you go buy, you can go buy a better backpacking trap pack, and you're going to spend $40 to $80 for it. Why do I need to spend that much money on something that I can take like this and make it and it'll work for me? Here's another thing. Yes, I do have fishing poles. Yes, I do. But this is just a piece of bamboo. Great. It's about 7 foot tall. Great for fishing in creeks or off the bank. Me and the kids love bank fishing with those, or going to the creek down here. Didn't cost me anything. I already had the fishing line, and I had everything. Just my time. This wood you see right here. I mean, get over here. These are 2x12s. About 6 foot long, something like that. 2x4s. Landscape timbers. Guy didn't need them. He had too many. He says, hey Mike, you want them? At the time, I don't have a use for them, but yeah, I took them because I've already got thinking of what I can build. And when I do build it and I need the wood, it's not going to cost me a dime. I'm not going to have to worry about if Home Depot's open or if Lowe's is open or, wherever's open. I don't know if I'm making my point. You don't have to have a lot of money in order to survive. Because if something happens, people, and you have to run to the woods, do you think there's going to be a 7-Eleven on the corner? Or do you think there's going to be a Walmart's right around the next bend of the road? Or a Home Depot sitting on top of the valley, sitting on top of the mountaintop for you to go run to? No, they're not. You're going to have this right here. This and what you got upstairs. Another thing. All that wood I showed you, I got from those pallets and everything. Okay? Let me get my muskrat trap out of the way. It's another thing. I made storage. Let me get down here so I can show you guys. Little storage bins out of them. I can put our supplies in there and take them to our stash where we keep our rest of our supplies, and don't have to worry about it. Didn't cost me a dime, just my time. Plus, after I get done using them, I got a chair to sit on, or I got a nice little table to use. That's 3 uses right there. A storage, a chair, or a table. Didn't cost me a dime because I already had the nails. Use a saw, a hand saw, to cut everything with, and just my time. This right here, this is my finished muskrat trap. I painted them green so they won't shine in the thing. You go to buy these, if you can find them, you're going to pay anywhere between $7 and $10. You can find them at a store, and that much online, plus the shipping and handling. I went out, yeah, I bought a roll for, I done a video on it, and I made 8 of them. And that would cost me, if I ordered them, it would cost me $80+ for them. Cost me 30, 32, I think, if that. But I made them, and they work just as good. I don't understand why you have to go spend a lot of money for stuff when you can do it yourself. And the next one I heard, actually, it's kind of funny. Yeah, I'm 6 foot and about 190, 192. And I had a Coca-Cola in my video and had a cigarette in my mouth. And I actually got an email saying, man, if anything happens, you're going to be out of shape. You need to stop your smoking. You need to stop drinking Cokes and just eat healthy. I guarantee you, I eat healthier than most people because I eat a lot of what I hunt and what I fish and what I trap. I don't like going to the store getting this processed meat. We get our farm fresh eggs from this lady. No chemicals, you know. It's crazy. I mean, I'm like this. I'm a smoker. Yeah, I know it's bad for me to smoke. Everybody knows it cuts your wind, you know, this and that. But if you work in a factory, what toxins are you breathing in? You know, I worked construction for years. How much asbestos and concrete dust and sawdust and drywall dust that go in my body? That probably done more harm to me than me smoking a cigarette. And these people that works at all these factories, look at all those chemicals you're breathing in. And if you drink water out of a faucet, that Coke's probably a lot healthier for you than a lot of people, you know, water faucet. Look at Flint, Michigan. There's a few other places. Yes, you need to be in shape. I do agree you need to be in shape. You just can't be 400 pounds and when something happens think you're going to walk 10 miles with 30 or 40 pounds of gear on your back. You ain't going to happen. You're going to die of a heart attack. Yes, you do need to get in shape. Like me, my pack weighs about 50 pounds. Though my weapon and my ammo, you're putting on another probably 8 to 10 pounds. And plus my boots and my coats or whatever, you know, I'm going to be, but I'm used to that. You know, the work I do, people, is logs. You know, I sell logs, I split firewood, I cut down and clean up trees. I'm used to heavy work. A lot of people's not. But, you know, I got a comment on that, and that just kind of blew my mind. Like, wow, okay. Because I'm 47, I'm too old to do something? Yeah. I can probably outwork most 18, 19, 20-year-old kids to the table, underneath the table, because I can work from daylight to dark. And I don't need to check my phones or my iPods or anything like that. Another thing I want to show you guys. This is for our, you know, for this out here. This is our basically outside wood bin. I hadn't found an old pallet. Just put some slats up. This old tarp, I mean, this plastic right here came off the pallets that was given to me. I just screwed them together, screwed them in, put that on there, cover, keeps my outside firewood. Didn't cost me a dime, just a little bit of my time. That's what I'm trying to say, guys. If you get with these people and they say you need to buy all this fancy gear and you need to stop and stop drinking and eating the way you do, don't listen to them. Do for yourself. If you do for yourself, you're going to feel accomplished. Like, yes, I done it. This is mine. I done it. And it's going to save your wallet, because you might need that extra $80 for a bill. Because I got 3 boys. I got a 3-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 13-year-old. You know, I got to buy school supplies, shoes, clothes, you know, field trips, you know, I got bills. I can use that money a lot better than I can spending $80 on a flashlight. But anyway, guys, that's my point I'm trying to get across to you guys. Sorry this video is long. Do for yourself. Make use of what you got. Scrounge around. See what you can use. And build it yourself. You'll feel a lot better about it when you've done it yourself. Anyway, guys, I'll see you in the next one. This time, please comment and tell me what you guys actually think about what I've said. You know, I don't care if you say you're crazy, you're full of it, or say, hey, you're right on. I just like to know what you guys think about how I feel, how I'm seeing things. But please, just, you know, comment below and let me know. Anyway, till the next time, everybody be safe and keep preparing. Bye.
Hey, I've been robbed. He went down that way. Young kid with a gun.
This is Radio 227. I got a robbery just occurred at the liquor store at 14th and L. The suspect is a white male, about 20, wearing a red plaid jacket, and he is armed. He ran into an alley in the 1400 block of L Street.
Young
I'm
puppy
in
went down
pursuit
that way.
and request assistance.
Take cover. A basic rule for survival against hostile fire. This officer advances warily, selecting possible cover as he moves. Now he is in position to return fire or pin down the suspect until help arrives, with minimum exposure to himself. Defensive firearms training, shooting for survival, normally follows basic instruction in single and double action revolver shooting. It stresses proper use of cover and the firing positions from behind it. One-on-one is a good method of defensive firearms instruction. The coach or instructor can correct stance or grip before the pupil continues. Improved scores from the kneeling weak hand position are immediate. The result of correcting the pupil's bent wrist and forearm are obvious and satisfying. Even good shooters may acquire bad habits when firing from behind barricades. Ready to fire from strong right-hand side, the pupil benefits from another correction. Keeping elbow and knee safely behind cover, thus removing two targets from hostile fire. He fires a good pattern with a minimum of bodily exposure. Each firing range may set up its own course, but defensive firearms training objectives remain. Teaching the application of basic shooting techniques to confrontation situations. Failure to provide a firm base when shooting from cover makes for inaccurate shooting. Legs spread too wide provide a tempting target for an assailant. Now the shooter can fire safely from a steady rest, putting all his shots in the kill zone and using the barricade for maximum cover. This is shooting for survival. This game warden owes his survival to knowing how ricochet shots may behave. The bouncing bullets that can kill a man even when he believes himself safe under cover, behind this car or this one. In this demonstration, the instructor aims at a clay pigeon well in front of the car. The rifled shotgun slug does not leave the roadway like a rubber ball at the same angle that it hit. It has ricocheted almost parallel to the ground to pierce the target under and behind the car. Safety lies only in putting a solid object like the wheel or engine of the car between you and your assailant. Let's review this surprising effect again. While a rubber ball thrown to the ground would bounce upward at the same angle, a bullet ricochets almost parallel to the hard surface struck. With targets at ground level, the instructor aims at the silver tape, a good deal closer than the balloons. Think of one of these balloons as your head, and you may change your evaluation of safe cover from ricochets. The same principle maintains when a bullet ricochets from a hard vertical surface. The instructor has placed aiming points some distance from the balloon targets. Think of yourself taking cover around the corner, exposing yourself only minimally and momentarily. Would you be safe? Your assailant may even aim wide of the corner, as we see here. But the ricocheting bullets almost parallel to the wall could kill you as easily as they burst these balloons. The lessons taught by these demonstrations might someday save your life.
Attention units 54 and 55. We have a 1090 at the Alexandria National Bank, 800 South Washington. First unit on the scene, do not enter the bank until the backup unit arrives. 10-4.
This is Unit 54 responding.
Many police departments now authorize shotguns to be carried in patrol cars. As a safety precaution, they usually have no shell in the chamber. Officers not yet fully trained in shotgun handling may forget to release the action so that they may charge the weapon. Sometimes this fumbling causes only a momentary delay, but in an unexpected confrontation, these seconds could be vital. Shotgun instruction, especially with newly issued weapons, must begin with thorough training in gun handling and loading. Releasing the action must become a reflex move, even under stress. Firing ranges and courses for shotgun training may vary. All, however, should qualify the shooter in two basic positions. Offhand aimed fire is best suited to longer ranges. Hip firing is used at close range, where most confrontations do occur. The shooter must know the shot pattern of his weapon to be aware of the safety limits of various shotgun loads. Each year, the FBI Uniform Crime Reports tells the grim story of policemen killed. Some die from a rifleman's bullet fired from ambush. Some die at a closer range, often while performing routine duties. The largest number are killed by handguns at extremely close range, often before they could draw their own weapon. Close combat pistol courses meet this challenge by training shooters to fire at targets as close as 3 feet. They will, however, include firing positions used for fast, accurate shooting at slightly longer ranges, from 7 to 15 yards. The point shoulder position fired from a crouch uses the arm as a pointer, with the front sight as the tip. It should form a straight line from shoulder to front sight without bending elbow or wrist, which would deflect the shot. At somewhat closer ranges, the shooter may take the natural point. This does not use the front sight, but points the weapon like a finger. Also fired from a crouch is the hip position. Here, too, the weapon should be pointed at the target like your finger, but the bent arm at hip level makes this position more suitable to shorter ranges, where aim is not as much of a factor as speed. It is, however, on extremely short-range training that the close combat pistol range should concentrate. 2 ready gun positions should be taught. The first has the elbow resting on the hip, the weapon extended for fast pivot if necessary. This position could be used to search a room or to cover a partner at very close range. Another ready gun position is fired from the hip. This protects the shooter from the danger of being disarmed at close quarters. After close combat training, you should fire groups like this. Without it, the records show many instances of clean misses in close combat situations, and all too often you get no second chance. To provide a practical and competitive exercise in close combat, the FBI firing ranges in Quantico, Virginia, have constructed a prototype dueling course.
Okay, gentlemen, on the line, start walking. Okay, man on the left, 2 seconds flat. On the line, start walking. Man on the right this time, 1.25. Start walking.
The final firing position is 21 feet from the bladed targets. The dueling course is a useful training tool to simulate the fast reactions and proper shooting techniques you will need in a close combat situation. Effective use of cover may someday save your life on the street. Defensive firearms training can make such reaction automatic. Cover may not always protect you against ricochets, which have their own rules of behavior. Demonstrations like this convince you of the rules and how best to guard yourself against bouncing bullets. Many law enforcement agencies have authorized the use of shotguns. Defensive firearms training should start with thorough shotgun familiarization and range shooting. Statistics show a frightening increase in the number of law enforcement officers killed by handguns at extremely close range. To meet this challenge, defensive firearms training must stress the technical skills which can defend against this threat. Close combat courses which teach shooting for survival.
Alright, I want to show you a good variety of medicinal and edible plants you can find in your own backyard. Okay, and we're going to start with this purple one that you see all over here. So let's get in close and check it out. Okay, this is our first one we're going to look at. You're going to find it everywhere. It's in the mint family. It's known as purple dead nettle. Okay, notice the triangular shaped leaves. Has the little flowers coming out of it there. They're pink. Now, if you look close at the stem, let me find one here. The stem is square. Okay. All the mint families have square stems. So that's going to help you identify it, but the easiest thing to do is just look for the plant that's purple all over your yard. It's a dead giveaway. Okay, now purple dead nettle. The leaves, the stems, the flowers, it's all edible. It's high in iron and vitamins and fiber. Okay. The seeds are said to be high in antioxidants. And if you dry this and make a tea, it'll promote perspiration, which is good if you need to sweat something out. If you have a cold or a flu, the best thing to do is sweat it out. Drink a lot of water and just sweat it out. And they say the fresh plant tea is a good laxative and tonic. So that's purple dead nettle. And I'm sure you can find some if you're in Appalachia, anywhere in that area. It's quite common. It's a real pretty plant, but a lot of people want to remove it, so just go ahead and maybe use it as an edible or medicinal. Alright, the next one we're going to take a look at is this plant right here with all these seed pods on it. Okay, get in close and you look at that. And get it like this. Okay, see them seed pods sticking off of it? It's got a little white flower coming in. This is the beginning of spring, by the way. I let my lawn grow out so I could show you all these plants. Okay, if you look down here, this is bittercress. Okay, it'll grow these little leaf patterns like that out the center of them. There's many forms of bittercress. I think there is another form in my yard, actually. If I find it, I'll show you. But this here, they are edible. The seed pods are edible. Young leaves, raw or cooked. If they use the old leaves, you gotta cook them. The seed pods can be pickled. I'm not a big fan of pickling things, but you can pickle them. And they say the roots make a good horseradish sauce. I'm not a fan of that either, but it can be done. There's a lot of it here. And they say the young stems and flowers can be eaten as well. There's not a lot about bittercress medicinally. All I could really ever find was edible, just the same edible properties, the seed pods and the stems and the leaves and the flowers. But other than that, there really wasn't much else. So, with that said, we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, I did find some more cress here. Right here's different leaves. Here is the one form I showed you. See the difference in the leaves? These are a little bit different. Okay, there's a lot of forms. I think there's 150 different species or something. But so far I've read that bittercress is bittercress. So keep an eye out for it. Okay, tucked up in back there, next to all the nettle here, is common chickweed. Okay, there is a lot of chickweed here, and it happens to be very nutritional. Okay, all parts are edible, raw or cooked. Okay, so that takes care of that, and I just want to show you a quick thing to help you identify it. Okay, there is lookalikes, some lookalikes, but if you pull this apart, notice how, let me try to get in on that. Okay, watch. I pulled that apart. Nah, it's hard to see. Right at that tip there, you see that little nub? That's actually an elastic band. Okay, you can pull this apart. Okay, like that. Try to get in on that. Okay, see how that's coming apart like that? There's an elastic band on the inside. Also, I'm sure you noticed the little line of hair there. There will be only one line of hair on this. Okay, only one. There's a single line right there. You can kind of see it. There is not one on this side. Only on this side. Okay, so that's another key for identifying these. Okay, now medicinally, a tea can cool you down, or it can help with coughs. And externally, they said they're good for a skin disease, to help with like itching and anti-inflammatory issues. And there is mouse-eared chickweed. I think I have some of that too. It's just hairy. It's just hairier. It looks similar, but the leaves and the stems are really hairy. But them have to be cooked. Okay, this can be eaten raw, but you have to cook mouse-eared chickweed. Okay, so if I see some of that, I'll get that. If I see that other form of bittercress, I'll show you that. Show you the difference in the leaves. Okay, so with that, we're going to move on to our next one. Okay, I wanted to add real quick on the chickweed. This flower looks like a 5-petaled flower here, but it is not. It has actually got 10 petals. Okay, that'll help you identify it. It's a white flower. It'll have 10 petals on it. I don't know if I can get in that far, but they are separated. There we go. Those are all separated, and there is 10 of them there. So that will help you as well to make sure you have chickweed. Okay, so now let's go on. Real quick, I'll show you. Here's our mouse-eared chickweed. Okay, it's quite hairy. It'll get tiny flowers. Alright, these ones you have to cook. You look in there for our elastic band, and there it is. If I can move all the other plants out of the way. Okay, see it right there? Pulling, it's stretching. And there it goes. Okay, that's mouse-eared chickweed real quick for you. Okay, next to all the dead nettle here is another family, or member of the mint family. Okay, now this is going to be key for you not to mistake the two, because it's important to know which one's which. But they are both edible nettle, and this is henbit. Okay, remember henbit. Okay, square stem. Let me get on this, I'll show you what the square stem looks like. Okay, notice how that's square? If you roll it in your fingers, you can easily tell that it's square. Okay, see how that kind of clicks when I roll it? And that is the same as dead nettle, which is right here. Okay, square stem. Okay, now this one here, henbit, see how them leaves kind of come off the stem? Okay, that's going to help you identify this plant. It has little sections like that, and then the very top will be like this with tiny little purplish flowers. Okay, they're like a magenta color. Now these leaves here almost have like a heart shape to them. Okay, now henbit, the young leaves can be eaten raw or cooked. There's no poisonous lookalikes. Okay, it is quite abundant. The stems and flowers are also edible. And medicinally, it's said to be fever reducing, a laxative, I believe, and it also induces sweating. So both those mints induce sweating, which is good for if you're sick, getting a flu, a cold, whatever. So be wary of that. Plants that induce sweating, because that is going to help you eliminate taking a pill, and you can use this to get rid of whatever it is that's in your body. Okay? So, henbit, we've got dead nettle, chickweed, and we've got bittercress. Now, let's move on to a few more. Okay, now Tennessee has a lot of flowers, so it's good to use all the key identification properties. And this is one of the flowers you will find, especially in your backyard probably. This is known as a speedwell. I believe it's corn speedwells. Okay. Now, speedwells are not necessarily edible. I have not read anywhere that they're edible. Okay, get a good look at that flower. It took me a good while to figure out what these were, but I did figure it out. They have a hairy stem. Okay. Do not confuse this with henbit or anything. There is big differences. If you look at these leaves, the leaves are different. The flowers are obviously different. Notice how they have them lines going through them. That's the big thing that set it off for me, looking through a bunch of my books. Okay, but I did read, just like the other ones, these are induced sweating. And that's using a leaf or root tea. Okay? Now, the tea does, it said it induces sweating, but it also helped with urination, helped promote urination and menstruation. Okay? So and it's important if you're doing a long-term survival situation, it's good to know different survival priorities like that medicinally, because those are things that you take for granted that you're just given by your doctor all the time. So that's why I teach medicinals and edibles. Okay, but you need to do the research on your own and consult an expert on this and do it wisely. Like, test these things in minute amounts before you ever think about just going ahead and just using it. You want to test these before you get stuck in a survival situation, because you don't want to have to use those and then make it even worse while you're out there. So learn these and test them slowly but surely after you know what you're doing, and you'll find it very beneficial, and you will learn that you don't fear as much when you go out, because you know what to look for and where to look for it. Okay. Now, these speedwells are also used as a blood purifier, which is interesting because a lot of us get a lot of toxins today, and Indians were big on using blood purifiers. They actually use like Alex vomitoria, which is the Gapan holly, to throw up, and that's one of their methods of purifying. I'm not big on that one, but this one seems alright, making a tea and sweating and purifying the blood. It's also said to be good for skin and kidney ailments, coughs and lung diseases, so possibly used for that. I have not tried this at all. This is what I have read on speedwells, but there really wasn't much else on them. So, mostly medicinal with the speedwells. But let's move on to the next one. Now, if you were to let your yard grow out like I did for this video purpose, you'll notice you get these little patches of tall growing, funny looking little grass looking things. Well, it's actually wild onion. You'll notice that the leaves are round. Okay, it's not like grass where it's flat. See, you just come over here, it's all over, it'll be everywhere. Okay, this is one of my favorite wild edibles because I like onions and I like to use them for flavoring, because when I'm in the bush I don't like to bring flavorings with me. I'll bring seasonings and stuff, but it's always good to have a natural flavoring right from the outdoors. And this is a good one to know because it's abundant too. Now, these are interesting because you can use a lot of it, and I mean, even these right here alone smell like onion, and they are edible when they're tender and young, and that's before the flower stalks appear. So you can go ahead and eat these up before the flower stalks appear, like right now, no flower stalk. So these are perfectly edible, okay? And they are tender, they're not too stringy. You just kind of want to grab above, you know, the old growth, so about there. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get up in here. So like right there, that comes off quite easily. It's not stringy, it's tender. Now, the bulbs are edible, and I'm going to go ahead and use this little one here, and I'm just going to dig her up, and once I dig it up I'll show you what that bulb looks like. Okay, you don't have to dig down too far. If you just have a little, like I carry a really small, sometimes a plastic shovel, sometimes a gardening knife is what it's called. I carry them out with me, and it would easily dig this up. I'm just going to dig this out with my hands real quick, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, I took pretty much that whole chunk out. Now there's multiple bulbs in here. Okay, so you gotta collect quite a few to get anywhere near the amount of a real onion, but they have quite a bit of flavor in them. Now these bulbs, like I said, you can eat them, cook them up, use them as flavoring, throw them with some wild game you got, which I love. And the Cherokees, which are native to Tennessee, use these bulbs for cold and cough, fevers, the juice for kidney stones. I think they used a dose of horse mint, I believe, before they would do the kidney stone treatment. But that's a good thing to know, because if you have kidney stones out in the bush and you want to treat it, find one of these. Maybe you don't need horse mint. I just know I read that the Cherokees used horse mint, a dose of horse mint, and then they would use these for kidney stones. Just the juice. And then the poultice of the plant for respiratory issues applied to your chest, which is another good thing to use, because when you're around campfire smoke a lot, you can have a lot of breathing problems. That's why I use pine needle tea a lot, because it helps with that issue. But onions, they just have that potency to them to do that. And you can make ointments and stuff with these. You know, you use you get the essential oil, same way I made the bug repellent. You can use it by putting a convex lid and boiling water with these on the outside, and then the lid in the center catching the drops of the essential oil. You mix that with some olive oil and beeswax or some tallow oil, whatever. You can make yourself a little ointment. This is good stuff right here. But these are perfectly edible. You bust that open, you can see that onion right there. Okay, that's real juicy. These are real good. I've eaten plenty of them. But just go collect a whole bunch of them. They're all over the place. There's probably 8 bulbs in this dirt right here. I think there's actually more down in the ground here. I can kind of see a few. Yeah, there is. So go ahead and get a bunch of them. See, there's a bunch more. So that's wild onion. I didn't think I had any of this, but that is oxalis right there. Oxalis, I know, is a good edible. I've eaten a lot of it. You're not supposed to eat a lot of it because it has oxalic acid, but so does chocolate. And I know a lot of us eat quite a bit of chocolate, but it does, most of it, it's also called wood sorrel. It'll get like a little yellow flower. Some of it's different, some of it gets different flowers and different leaves, but this is just your regular oxalis. It'll get a little yellow flower, and notice the heart-shaped leaves. That's how you know it's not clover, but they're really tangy, the leaves are, and they're pretty good. I like them. Some people don't like the taste, but oxalis is it's just a little trailside nibble for me. That's what I use it for. But like they say, don't eat too much, but they don't say don't eat too much chocolate, so I don't know where you draw the line there. That's oxalis, or wood sorrel. Now all throughout here is a whole bunch of clover. Clover is not your top choice for a wild edible, but you can use it as a salad or a cooked green, flour, tea. It's rich in protein. Okay, look at them. The leaves are pretty distinct, and this will be white clover. Okay, there's red clover, and there's a few different species of clover, but white clover is your most common, and I'm sure most of you have seen it. But you can soak these leaves and flowers in salt water and then boil them for large consumption, because you shouldn't eat too much of it raw because it's hard to digest. So just remember that tip: soaking the flowers and the leaves in water, salt water, and then you can eat a whole bunch. And I think the flowers taste pretty good. But the dried flower heads make a healthy tea, which there's quite a bit of talk about their medicinal properties, even anti-cancer properties. How much of that's true, I don't know. We don't really try enough of it to find out. But the flower heads and the seeds dried also make a flour. And it's good to know different plants that make flowers, because flour is your most filling food source you can get, and it's good to know how to make a bunch of it, you know, like out of acorns or different nuts or different plants. A lot of things can make you flour. And it's too early for the flowers to appear right now, but like I said, I'm sure most of you have seen white clover before. Yeah, there's plenty of it, and all our other wild edibles floating around in here. The Indians use the leaf tea for colds and coughs and fevers, like our other medicinals here. And then European folk medicine use the flower tea for rheumatism and gout. But they say it's cancer preventative, like I said, and an antioxidant, which everyone likes antioxidants today. But that's clover. A good little tidbit information about clover. Alright, now hidden amongst all this dead nettle here is one of my favorite wild edibles that I've ever came across. Much better than any cultivated strawberry. Hidden down here is wild strawberries, or common strawberries, or wood strawberries. Okay, they are delicious. Much better than any strawberry you'll buy at a store. They're sweeter and they just taste good. Okay, now I know the story Leaves of 3 let it be, but this is an exception, a major exception. Okay, it's pretty distinct. It's not a vine growing up a tree. It's got a hairy stem here. Okay, it's gonna get a little red berry similar to a strawberry, but much smaller. Okay, much smaller. But they are delicious. Now, these strawberries alone can be used as, you know, nourishment, or for water, or to cure scurvy, which is huge, because a lot of people die of scurvy when there's a lot of vitamin C around them already. And the berries can be cooked. You can use them for jam. Let's see. The leaves make a really pleasant tea if you dry them. sometimes with leaves it's best to dry them, sometimes it's best to use them fresh, but I've read so far that these leaves are better if you just use them dried for tea. So that's pretty much the edible properties of it, but believe it or not, these wild strawberries have quite a bit of medicinal uses. The root tea can be used for stomach ailments and lung type ailments. It's said to be a diuretic, and the root also can be used as a toothbrush. That's what the Indians used it for. There's a lot of it here too. It's growing everywhere, and I'm excited for when these berries start popping in. I've heard the locals call them snake berries because the snakes eat them and they're on the ground. Now, fresh leaf tea is for sore throats, they say. Remember how I said it's best if you use it for dried tea, is like just a pleasant tea for health. But the fresh leaf tea is said for sore throats, or like an external wash on like a sunburn. It's said to be a blood purifier. Berries can be calming, which is good if you're, say you got bit by something and you had a handful of these berries and you didn't, and when you freak out, your adrenaline goes and it pumps that poison through your blood even quicker. So maybe eat a few of these and it'll calm you down. I have not tested that theory, but I have read that. The berries are good for a hot stomach. Anything like that, when you have, that feeling you get when your stomach's just kind of hurting, the berries will help calm that hot stomach down when it's when you got that yucky feeling in your stomach, and like you're thirsty and your stomach's just got a lot of acid in it, because they are hydrating. But they say also the stem can be used for wounds, to remove bacteria and burns and scrapes, and the leaves for burns and scrapes. So this plant, like I said, that fresh leaf tea is good for sunburns. It seems to have a lot of good properties for any type of scrape or burn. So strawberries got a lot more uses than just eating the berries. But that is wild strawberries. Go pick some. Here's another favorite, which is quite a useful plant. Dandelion. A lot of people know that it is edible. It's just starting to bloom out flowers, which is the perfect time to pick some greens. The best ones to use for salads are the ones just below the dirt. Okay, just below the dirt down there are the best. Right there's a flower. Okay, see that coming in? When they're down there, when they're still on the rosette, those are the best flowers to eat when they come out. Those are the ones that you want to pick. Alright? You want to remove that little white latex underneath it too. If it has that white latex on it, just pick that right off, and they're delicious. Fried, or you can boil them. A lot of people eat them raw, but it's best if you fry them. They're actually quite good. Served with like butter. But the young leaves before flowers appear are the best, and all the leaves are edible, but it's best, like I said, just to grab the one below the soil. Those are the best ones to grab. The roots down there underneath this plant are quite useful as well. Those can be used to replace your coffee. Okay. What you would do is take the roots, put them in a slow oven, and roast them, bake them, until they become like a brownish color or brittle. And then you just grind them up, just like coffee. And I want to show you the rosettes, because sometimes people get confused with the leaves. The dandelion leaves are pretty distinct. Okay, you peel all these there's so many plants here. If you let your yard grow here, it'll grow into a jungle quite quickly. Okay, notice how that has all them little blades on it. That's key for identifying dandelion. Okay, before the flower gets in, it's hard. There is a lot of rosettes all over the place, and they're one of the harder things to identify. So just remember this right here. That shape has that spade at the top, and then it has them little sections as it goes down, okay? And that way you know you got a dandelion. There are some plants that are similar, so you need to look at certain things to help you figure it out. Maybe look at a dandelion and the one that looks like it in the wintertime, and then in the summertime come and find out which one's growing dandelions and which one's not. Okay, that's one way to help you, or vice versa. Look at it in the summertime, you can tell which one's a dandelion and which one's not. So then in the wintertime you look at them and you say, oh, okay, that's the difference. But they are medicinal. Okay, here's another one here. The medicinal properties of the dandelion include all of them. The leaves have vitamin A and C in them, which is important. The dried root tea can be a laxative, which sometimes is important. And leaf tea for loss of appetite. Fresh root tea, not dried, fresh, for like liver and gallbladder and kidney and other bladder ailments, like vice versa or whatever, can be used. Fresh root tea, not dried. Remember, fresh is for liver and gallbladder and kidney and other bladder type ailments, which gets pretty in depth, but it has been used for that. And also for constipation. So it's a laxative. So dandelion, that flower, that weed that most people want to get rid of, like most of these weeds a lot of people want to get rid of, is quite useful and edible. And there we have another wild onion growing. Okay, so we're going to go off to, I believe, our last one. And let's go find one. Okay, this is going to be the last one we're going to look at. Now, there are probably multiple other edibles and medicinals in this yard, but these are the ones we're going to look at because it takes time to learn them all, and it's important to just learn the basics first. And these here are all, I feel, quite easily identified and quite useful. And you don't need to learn everything. It's good just to know a certain amount to help you with your certain needs. Now, many of you might be saying, oh, I know what that is. Yeah, it's plantain. This is narrow leaf. Okay, there's broadleaf plantain, there's rattlesnake plantain, but this is the one you're probably going to find in your yard. Okay, I will show you rattlesnake plantain. I have found some. It's quite rare, but I have found it. So keep watching and I'll show you some more cool plants. Now, plantain is quite useful. I have used it medicinally because I have cut myself many times, and I know to grab this. It's got drawing properties to it. It helps stop the bleeding. Hemlock combined with this is great because hemlock will stop bleeding. But this is antibacterial. The young leaves are the best because these leaves can get quite fibery, but you can actually use these old leaves. Okay, now you see down in there, you see how it's got them sections? That's all slices of fiber. You can remove that if you want to. If you're that hungry and it's wintertime, because most of these plants I showed you are here in the winter as well. Almost all of them are. So a lot of times it'll say, oh, only young ones, but you can usually use the old ones if you want to get through the fiber. These ones you can actually peel that fiber out and eat them. Now the seeds, it does not have the stem, the little stem that grows up the center of it. But those seeds that are going to come, it's going to have a stem that sticks straight up, and it's going to have little seeds on the end of it, and you can eat those, and they will keep you regular. It's like taking psyllium husk, like a fiber. Medicinally, other than what I told you for cuts and stuff, it is used as a leaf tea for coughs and diarrhea and dysentery and like bloody, I think I read bloody urine it can be used for, which is, hey, you never know what you're going to run into. It's also been said to help with bronchitis, and the leaves can be applied as a poultice to blisters and sores and ulcers and swelling too. Okay, and that's what I did when I had my cut. I just kind of chewed it up and smushed it on that cut, because I cut myself with a saw, cutting down bamboo, and I just quick grabbed some of this and threw it on there, and it healed up pretty quick, because that's another thing. It's also said to help heal quickly, and it has quite a bit of antibiotic properties for healing, which is why it heals pretty quick. And they say the seeds of these stems lower cholesterol. So that's plantain. It's quite useful. Get to know them all. There's quite a few different plantains. But this, like I said, this is the one you're going to find in your yard. You possibly could find broadleaf plantain. I don't have it in mine. This is actually the only plantain that's in my yard, is right here. But it is everywhere else. So go ahead and look for some of these wild edibles. Make sure you consult an expert. Study some of the ones that I just mentioned. Peterson has great books. Green Dean at eattheweeds.com. He will take care of you. He's got more plants than you can imagine on there, and he covers a lot of them that are here and that are in Florida. And he also has a link that shows local instructors in your area. Okay, he has classes in Florida he'll take. He's a great guy to go to when it comes to questions about any plant. He'll show you plants that you thought were toxic that are actually edible. Okay, so study up and learn some of these in your own backyard. You'd be surprised. Okay, alright, have a good one now.